my name is Amanda, and today we are going to be celebrating St. Patrick's Day just a little bit early. It is on Wednesday, but we're going to celebrate it today, hence my green outfit here. And the reason why I wanted to celebrate St. Patrick's Day early is because green is actually the ribbon color for spinal injuries and brain injuries. It is a ribbon color for a lot of other illnesses as well, but those are the two that I wanted to focus on today, and we're going to be interviewing my dad again for this video because my dad was injured in 2005. He was in a Humvee accident where an IED went off and destroyed the Humvee that he was in, and it shattered his spine and damaged the frontal lobe of his brain. So we're going to be talking to him today, which should be super exciting because I love interviewing my dad because he is a hoot. I love him a lot. All right, so Wednesday is St. Patrick's Day, and that is the color green, and that stands for spinal injuries and brain injuries. So I am interviewing you because you have both, and I wanted to interview you on how you got your injuries, what happened afterwards, and what life is like now that you have these injuries. So let's start off with how you got injured in the first place.
First, I was hit by an improvised explosive device, or IED. It's roadside bomb that was off the side. It hit our Humvee, and actually what it did to my spinal column is it crumbled it. Actually, it crushed it into small pieces. I didn't know that at first. In fact, I walked out of it thinking I was okay, which was sad because I lost those who were in the vehicle with me that day. But I survived, and I thought, wow, I'm pretty good. So, and I was doing really well. But previously to that, close by me, I'd already been hit right by me, 9 IEDs, but I'd been hit by a total of 18 IEDs through all this, and that's what created the TBI. My traumatic brain injury was caused because there's so many concussions that happened that it did damage already.
Mm-hmm.
With the other one, though, I slowly, I started losing use of couldn't feel my hands, I couldn't use it, couldn't use my arms, my legs, same thing started happening, couldn't feel my feet, and I was worried that something was wrong. And so it just happened to be a physical therapist, young lieutenant, who said, you know what, I think I know what it is. And because they'd done tests, in fact, I'd already been through a couple of operations on my hand, thinking that's what it was. And so they did an MRI on my spinal column. And that's when they found out that they were crushed so close, they couldn't tell that anything had been done with an x-ray. It looked normal, but with an MRI, they could tell that I had crushed my spinal column. And so during that time, that's when they took me in, did an operation on, and the doctor, all he said was that all he did was just pick out bone. He said the whole spinal column, the C-spine, had been completely crushed. So what he did is he took old cadaver parts from other cadavers, he put them all in, and he put all the spongy things in there, and he did all of it and recreated the C-spine. The problem was that I never got the use of my hands or my feet back. So I was termed an incomplete quadriplegic. But he said I was a nice blade for being a full quadriplegic.
Yeah.
He said it was so close that I could run my scalpel through, and that's how close you were from being a full quadriplegic. So he did a lot of work, and then they put me in, of course, into the hospital, and they, because by then I'd lost the use of walking, and because that was one of the things. So slowly I moved myself into a wheelchair, and there they kept me in a wheelchair and was doing different therapies, because by then I had traumatic brain injury, but I was going through PTSD, and I was going through all of the other things all at the same time. So the best place for me was the hospital at the time. And so they were able to work on me at the same time as trying to control the PTSD episodes and work with the traumatic brain injury. And so, but it was a slow process. They told me that I would be in a wheelchair the rest of my life, that I would never move out of it. It also damaged my I had a neurogenic bladder, neurogenic valve, so it pretty much wiped out everything for me to be able to control myself. So it was a tough time, and so afterwards was the tough part. At first I thought I was okay, but slowly I found out that the damage had done so much, and it was very hard for me. They used to work with me in pools to work with my arms, but I had no use of my hands at the time. So I'd wear these great big gloves to eat, because I had to slowly use a spoon, get used to using a spoon and a fork and whatever. But they would put these great big weighted gloves on me, and that would help me use the spoon. So they taught me how to eat again. I had to learn how to speak again. So I went through a speech therapist that helped me learn to talk again. Because I lost all my motor skills, everything that was new. I had slowly lost it all when damage hit. So it was kind of funny, because at the time, my commander, when I got home, I was doing really well. The next thing you know, I'm sitting in hospitals and ERs, so much pain I couldn't figure out why. And so he pretty much thought, well, he's pretty much faking it, because he was okay. And so he never even showed up at my retirement, because he thought, well, he's just a guy that just wants to get away with all this. So 15 years later, I'm now walking. I'm able to walk, but I'm still an incomplete quadriplegic. I can work with my hands, which is really neat, and I can walk, but I can't feel them. I feel a lot of pressure, but that's all I can feel. So it's been a long process going through this, and it's been my family that's helped me through all of this, because that's the only way I could have made it. First time I was able to sit and walk was at your wedding, which was really neat. So I stood up out of my wheelchair and got to dance, which was one of my greatest goals in my life. So I was excited. So that was neat. The only thing is the traumatic brain injury caused so much damage at the time that I had no idea who I was. So that was the only problem. I was a different guy. And I think trying to do things now takes a lot lot more out of me. So I have to think, which is kind of tough. It does a lot of things that traumatic brain injuries is those that they're tough on families. They're tough on the individual who goes through it.
Because there was like a 5-year period that you really weren't yourself. You were very different, and you don't remember it.
I don't remember anything. There's 5 years that I have no idea who I was. So, you guys met me. I didn't know. So I was pretty much gone, and I don't remember any of it. That's what's really crazy is I might get a snippet of a memory, but I don't remember 5 years of my life. It's been taken away from me. I have no idea who I was. So, and it's kind of funny because people always go, how do you go through something like that? I don't understand. I don't not remember anything. It's like, no, I don't remember anything. And I was in so much pain all the time, and so they did have me drugged up, but not enough to where you lose your memory. So there was times that it took some time. So, and that was kind of a unique situation. And the reason I know all of this is because a friend of mine who was in the hospital with me told me what had happened through all this. Because pretty much I don't remember a lot of that either. I get snippets, and he was the guy that he said he fixed the coffee for everybody. Of course, I didn't drink coffee, but I would get up with him and go help him make the coffee for everybody. And so I would be in my wheelchair and would roll, and they would take me to these different places, and they'd help me do models and do all kinds of things to try to get my hand to work. But he said pretty much no one knew a lot about me except what they had learned later on. And so all they did is what the doctors told them. And so I was just the guy that was in the wheelchair. And they were trying to teach to speak and eat, do everything else. So I have no idea. It's a crazy time, and I don't remember. I remember, the only thing that I do remember a lot about is I had my niece give me some shampoo, and that smell, and I still use the shampoo to this day because of the smell. I could remember the smell of my shampoo, of using it. And is that the craziest thing?
Well, the sense of smell is the strongest memory inducer, so that's not too shocking.
Of all the things to remember, I could remember that I used that shampoo.
Yeah.
And crazy, I don't know. So apparently I did use it because that's what my niece told me, Michelle told me, was that she gave me that shampoo and I used it, and this day I still use it, that brand, because I that's one thing that ties me into it. So
if you are an incomplete quadriplegic and you can see your hands doing what you need to do, but how do you walk without being able to feel your feet?
It's crazy because it's by my ankles, not my ankles, my calves more. My calves tell me where my feet are. And so I use my calves to do everything, even my driving. It's all by calves. Because I can't tell, because if I walk through the garage without my shoes on, and I grab a nail, I won't know the nail's there. The only time I know the nail's there is that it catches on the carpet next to my bed, and all of a sudden I'm going, there's something strange here because there's something catching, and I'll look down, and there's a nail sticking out of my foot. Or I picked up a pin because I'm stupid enough not to put shoes on. And the doctors and my sweetheart keeps telling me, put your shoes on, you gotta put your shoes on all the time to go around the house or anywhere, but sometimes I don't, but I have no idea. Or I leave a trail of blood somewhere. And that's the only reason I know there's something in my foot. And I'm not even allowed to trim my toenails because of the danger of it. So I have a dietitian who every 2 months cuts my toenails and goes through and trims my feet, takes care of my feet, and that's how I get my feet taken care of. Or my wife, mom takes care of my feet so that she watches what goes on. That's probably one of the most, between my hands and my feet, I have to watch out for, because if I cut or if I do something damage those, they can get infected and I can lose them. So I worry about them all the time, that I may lose my feet. The other thing too is the neurogenic bladder and the neurogenic valve has a lot to do with the incomplete quadriplegia. So there's more than just the feet and the hands that I lost. So I have to have other things to help me go to the bathroom. So which is really a hard time for me, because it's the way of life now.
So if you had something to tell people that either suffer from a spinal injury or a brain injury, what would you want them to know or their family members to know about what?
My biggest thing is, if I had to tell people, especially those who suffer from spinal injuries, is that little victories are important, because little by little, here I was bound to a wheelchair, and I knew I was going to live in a wheelchair the rest of my life, which is more than sitting in a bed, which is a complete quadriplegic has to go through. So for me, I knew that the little victories that I was winning, because for 5 years I didn't know who I was. I was in a bench state, sitting in a wheelchair. Then I moved slowly and I got better and better. And then I started scuba diving. And so I started doing things that people say, you can't do that. And they did. They took me up along the side of the pool and dumped me in from my wheelchair. And I grabbed a hold of a guy that was helping teach the course. And I hung on to him, and they taught me how to scuba dive, being an incomplete quadriplegic. And slowly I got better, where I was able to get strength by doing that all the time. I got strength in my legs, which is what I needed. And so with the strength in my legs, I started walking slowly. It took a long time for us to finally get to the point where I knew that one foot in front of the other, something, that was a small thing. Little victories like that is what changed me. Little victories is probably the biggest thing. In fact, it's kind of unique because my spinal doctor, I started getting to the point where I didn't have to see my spinal doctor for a year. We do it a year at a time. And I walked in that one time and my doctor just dropped his he could not believe the difference between what I'd done here during that period of time. And he said it's the most amazing thing. If you read my chart, my medical chart, and looked at me, they don't match anymore. In fact, every doctor that I see now, they read my chart first, and then when I walk in, they're astounded because they know that I should be in a wheelchair, rolling up, because they look at the chart and they see that. So I guess that's probably the greatest thing that ever happened was new victories and little things change. And because of that, we were able to find great success in doing things. And I think that's more than anything I can do. I'm happy because of my little victories. There are days that, yeah, I want to stay in bed and I don't want to move. But then there's other days that I keep telling myself, you got to move. Because if you don't move, you just stay there. So that's where you go.
Well, thank you so much for being willing to be interviewed again by me.
Being interviewed by you, of course.
Well,
thank you.
I love you.
I love you.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Okay. Bye-bye, sweets.
Bye-bye. I hope that you found that video interesting. I hope that you enjoyed that video and that maybe you learned something. If you do suffer from spinal injuries or brain injuries, my heart goes out to you, and I hope that you have a support system in place, that you can have people around you that can help you through these injuries. If you are interested in learning about chronic illnesses, handicaps, or disabilities, then go ahead and click that subscribe button, and go ahead and click that like button if you did enjoy this video or you learned something new. Remember to be kind. Kindness is free, so give it out to everyone, and I'll see you next time.